All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Geek podcast. Uh, Lara and I are back to talk about a really cool movie. Hello,
Hello.
Lara. Uh,
Hello.
so we ran into that same issue where we started talking about the movie while not recording, and then we're just like, "Yeah, we got to end this conversation so we can
Yeah,
actually
you're like,
record this
shut
for the
up.
podcast."
Don't say anything.
Like we were having a really good conversation. We went for the movie, and then we went to Yard House near Fenway for
Add
really good vegetarian wings that I love, and then whatever that beer was that you had, which is
sour
delicious.
beer. Passion
Uh,
fruit sour beer, bruh. Those are so good.
I'm gonna get that the next time. That was actually really fucking delicious. So we're kind of taking a different course this time. We're not gonna be talking about like Netflix or the Super Bowl or whatever movie like like just a regular Hollywood movie. We're gonna talk about a Bollywood movie, which is the first one that you watched,
Woo! Pumped.
and I am watching one after maybe no joke over a year. Probably it's been like at least over a year since I watched the last one. Probably closer to two. And the two of us went to go watch Gully Boy. So this is kind of going to be a mixture of us talking about it and then like me kind of asking her or me kind of asking Lara a lot of questions about
Mm.
how it was to kind of deal with like I don't know a different language barrier or like whether it felt or I'll ask questions as it goes by.
All right.
So
I'm ready.
what did we start the conversation with? What was the first thing we were talking about yesterday that spawned the entire thing? Like we were just talking about. Actually, we kind of started off like because I generally between the two of us, I think we liked the movie a lot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were just like, it was like the kind of like where it's just like let's talk about the things that we kind of didn't like a little bit before we start talking about how much we liked the movie,
Um,
because
I
that's what we kind of did when we were like walking to Yard House yesterday.
yeah, I guess. I think for me, well, I don't know why I was so pumped to see this movie. I think it was because one of my coworkers at work, he was just like telling me about it.
Yeah.
Because he's like from that area or like nearby. Like there's a scene in a movie where you like see a highway that's kind of like a weird S shape, and he was like telling me like, oh, I know exactly where that is. So I don't know. He just kind of got me pumped about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very. I think the what made it even better for me was just the fact that I was watching it with you,
Yep.
because I feel like you kind of obviously you like were able to answer a lot of questions for me. You kind of walked me through some of the little details that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, because of that uh, cultural difference. For me, Gully Boy was literally a movie about two worlds coming together, and I have no idea what either of those two worlds are, because I'm not a huge rap fan, so I don't really know what that whole like hip hop culture is like.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's a Bollywood movie, I have like no idea what it's like to live in India and live in that reality that the characters are in. Like for me, it was like literally two different universes that I knew nothing about that came together, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, this is like such a cool thing." And I just felt like it was very interesting, and I like culturally, I felt like I was learning something new, which was good. It kept me excited.
I guess this is a good thing to ask. If say you went to go watch this movie by yourself and not with me or something like that, do you think you would have been at times too overwhelmed to really enjoy the movie? Like,
No,
or
no.
do you think in general were you overwhelmed at any point while watching the movie? Whereas it's like this is like too much like too different than what I'm used to. I don't really understand this or anything what's happening, and like that stops you from being invested into the movie or something like that.
No, no. I definitely think it's a solid movie,
Hmm.
that you know I could have gone and watched that by myself, and I probably would have still enjoyed it.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm not speaking the language, so I was just basically reading the subtitles to most times, even though, like, obviously there were, like, a few words that I could, like, pick up on, but, you know, I would assume that, like, the translation of the poetry and the rap, but the lyrics
Yeah.
wasn't exactly 100%, so that's probably where I would say I lost the majority of the meaning and the rhymes and like the lyrical aspect of the movie, which considering that it's like basically a musical ish, I mean they're like music is the center of
Yeah,
the
it's like a
piece. And
music drama. That's what it is, kind of.
yeah, it's a music
Yeah.
drama, but still I feel like it was a very solid linear story, easy to follow.
Mhm.
Well developed characters. So no, I definitely think having you there to give me those little insights was an extra bonus. But
Mhm.
it's definitely a movie that I would recommend others to watch as well, and I think they would be able to enjoy it too.
So you would say it's like a decent like introduction to the film industry in a way.
To
Like
Bollywood, you mean?
yeah, yeah, to an extent. Like you just said like you were able to like follow the movie. It was
Yeah,
just
well, it's not like a complicated storyline. It's
I don't know, but language barriers like can be a major pain in the ass.
mm, yeah, it
Like
can, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm bilingual
yeah,
anyways, so I'm kind of used to switching from one language to another. And,
sure.
I've watched films in French and Spanish and whatever. I think as long as the subtitles are somehow, well thought out and not just slapped on the screen.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't think it was from an audience perspective. I definitely think this is a worldwide audience that can enjoy the movie without it having to be, too culturally restrictive.
Oh no, that's pretty good. Also, I just found you know how they said like represent RV17 or like this that's
Oh yeah,
what
yeah.
the street number is. I just found that exact location on Google Maps. Like
Okay.
I basically found the street where like the street that he's kind of from in the movie.
Mhm.
I found like the mosque that's near them and everything like that. Like I found that street.
Interesting.
So
Any
I was
brunch
just
spots?
any brunch
Sorry.
spots? No, no, there's no brunch spots.
Oh my god. Okay, this is like, oh my god, cut this out. I sound like this stupid. You know that scene where there's like all the American tourists at the beginning that are
Yeah,
like exploring the slums, and I'm like, oh my god, that was embarrassing. That was because it's real, It's like, yeah, I can definitely see this happening and people acting that way, and I'm just like, it's just embarrassing.
like
But
I also I thought that scene was also kind of cool, just to like a weird introduction between like two worlds colliding because it's like these two people that are super indifferent or like very different from each other, and then the guy's just
mhm.
like, yeah, this is like a T-shirt with like Nas on it or
Nas.
something like that, and then he just like raps out a particular verse,
Yeah, and then he's like, "Yo, can I take a picture of you?"
and he just covers his face, and the guy still takes a picture anyways. Uh, I just looked it up. The closest brunch place to the RV is
Oh
like
my
4 kilometers away. It's not
god.
that far. It's just across the bridge.
All
Like there's
right.
a bridge and a river that separate Dharavi from like different parts of Mumbai.
Mhm.
If you look towards the north, there's a cinema that's pretty close by,
Hmm.
and it's high ranked. It's got like 4.2 stars and like 6,000 reviews. So that's not bad. Um, but yeah, so I I have a love hate. No, actually, no, I have a very. It's not even love hate really. It's kind of like I'm not the biggest fan of Bollywood in general. Like I grew up with it. I watched a lot of movies of it growing up, but the more I really got into film, the less I got into like the more I distance myself from a lot of what Bollywood produces, of the biggest earners that they have and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
my entire thing is like I'll watch maybe like altogether in a year, maybe 6 or 7 Bollywood movies, and I am very selective about the ones that I'll watch. Like I will read the story that they're kind of involved with, and then I will see the trailer. If the trailer, if the trailer and the story sell me, that's the
Right,
only time
right.
when I'll consider actually watching it. Whereas like a lot of other movies, I'll just watch it based off just the trailer. Like if I think the trailer's cool, or if I like the actor in it, or something like that, I'll just watch a movie. Whereas
So how do you think this compares to
so,
what you've seen so far?
this is the thing where I did not know about this movie until you brought it up, and
Really? Wait, I brought
that's
it up?
that's the thing. Yeah, no, like Gully Boy was not up my like alley of like movies or anything like that. I watch mainly like there's a couple of directors that I'll keep up with. If they produce or if they make something, I'll be like, let me, at least take a look at what movie they're making. And then there's like a couple of actors that have their own production companies. And if they're making anything, I'll be like, oh yeah, I want to like check it out just because I really like these like two particular actors and the kind of movies that they do. Gully Boy is very different from all of those things. Like this is just like a random, like this is a kind of movie that like 9 or 10 months after it's released, um, my dad will be like, hey, like your mom and I are gonna watch this movie tonight. Do you want to watch it with us? And
Yeah.
that's when I'll be like, oh, let me take a look at the trailer. If I like it, then I'll sit down with you guys after dinner and watch the movie or something like that. Like this is what I think like my relationship with Gully Boy would have been. No joke. This is the first movie I've watched, first Bollywood movie I've watched in cinemas since a movie called Dangal came out. And Dangal came out in, let's take a look, December 2016. So
Hmm.
almost like two and a half, like 2 years and 2 months after this movie came out. This is the next movie that I've watched in the movie theater.
Hmm.
Because Dangal for me was like a big game changer into coming back into Bollywood again.
Would you
And
recommend it? Do you think I would like it?
I love that movie. I think it's definitely gonna you like
All right, next one. Next one. That next on our bucket list.
because for me the biggest selling point for Dungle was like the main actor in the movie is someone that I find the movies that he picks and decides to act in fucking phenomenal. Like
Hmm.
I think he's the standout, or he's I don't know what's a good like like I can't the best way to describe it is like I can't think of someone who is a comparison for me in
Hmm.
Hollywood to what like this actor represents for me in Bollywood. Like he's such a standout actor, and just the roles that he picks or something like that. Like actually a good way of putting it, I kind of look at him as like the Daniel Day Lewis, but with better movie choices that he's made.
All right. All right.
Um, yeah, for me, like I don't think in the last like 12 years, like he's made a lot of movies. He's been an actor for over 30 years now, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but all of the movies that he's made in the last like I guess the best way to put it, 2 minutes or 2 minutes. The last like 10 years have been like massive hits for me. All right. Anyway, going back, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
For me, you know what
yeah.
I
Go
thought?
ahead.
I
Tell me
thought
about the movie. Yeah.
I just thought that all the actors in Gully Boy, I felt like I'd seen them somewhere before, and like
Hmm.
that was so not the case because then we looked them up and literally I had no idea who any of those people were. But I just felt like they all had like very familiar faces, and I don't know if it was because of their character just being relatable. And then
Hmm.
and then I think like, okay, they're relatable, but like obviously they're like not relatable to me because I have no idea, I have no part or no experience in that, that kind of reality. I don't really know anyone
Sure.
like
Yeah.
them. And
Yeah.
but then I still felt like, like, oh, I know this guy. I've seen him somewhere. I felt like I knew their story for
Did
some
you by
reason.
Did you by any chance see them in a trailer for the movie?
I didn't even see a trailer at all.
Oh wow.
Um
Okay.
like literally the only way I heard about this movie was because my colleague told me about it
Yep.
and he was so hype and I was like, all right, I'm going to go and watch it too. Um but yeah, I mean, I thought the characters were Interesting characters. I think my favorite character was his girlfriend. Murad's girlfriend, I thought was
Safina,
very
yeah,
Safina, yes. She was brilliant. She was like such a smart girl, but kind of crazy. I don't know. I just I really liked her character. I like how witty she was, you know? She had some good lines, like the one you brought up yesterday that he was like, "Oh, swear on me that you're not going to do this again." And she was like, "I can't. You'll die."
yeah.
It's like I liked her character a lot. I also liked his friend that deals drugs with the kids. Um,
Oh,
not
Moeen, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, this is weird. Like, obviously, I don't like drug dealers that use kids, but I thought it was interesting how like loyal and he was like a true friend. He was
Like
a good
those,
friend to Murad,
like
and I
yeah.
appreciate those things.
None of the
Yeah.
characters were particularly like black or white in any sense of the shade. Like Moeen was like a guy who used kids to deal drugs, but yeah, at the same time, he was loyal to a fault where he's just like, yeah, sure, telling them that you jack these cars with me
Yeah.
would the fact that you jack these cars with me would like reduce my sentence or whatever, but like you have good things coming for you, don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I like that little twist right
mhm,
there, Uh to me that was like one of the most surprising characters, most unexpected, I
mhm.
guess. Um, but yeah, there are other characters that I thought were a little bit stereotypical, but then I don't know again if it was like a cultural thing. You were mentioning yesterday the very strict dad
Yep.
being super against him becoming an artist, and you know, I thought his reaction might have been a little too classic, but then again, I have I don't know what culturally that would look like, and I guess it is very strict.
I
So,
so I mean we talked about this a little bit
yeah.
beforehand, but I think like the realism in the characters that they had was actually very on point. Like to an extent,
Mhm.
it felt stereotypical, but at the same time, they delved into like these socioeconomic aspects really well. I think the like a couple of the things that stood out to me is like Safina's parents, right?
Mhm.
Like that relationship was something that I felt was like fucking on point, where it's just like the dad secretly loves the fact that his like kid is just a genius at medicine, but he also has to deal with the fact that like the mother is super orthodox as to what uh she wants her daughter to do and everything like
Mhm.
that. So the entire aspect of like dealing with being like I'll drop her off at school and then I'll pick her up, or the fact that like oh she lost her iPad, I'm gonna buy her another iPad, and then the mom just like that reminded me a little bit of like the conversations that my parents itself have
Mhm.
sometimes, where like I'll do something stupid and then like or I'll like I'll want something, and then my dad says yes, and my mom says no, and like the conversation that happens between them. It was awesome to see that reflected to an extent within like her parents as well. I think they
Mhm.
delved into that other aspect of the fact that like, and this is something that like at me as someone like who's kind of gone through different socioeconomic classes as an Indian could see very well, was like the differences between just two different parts of India, or like two different parts of the city itself just separated by a bridge.
Yeah.
uh, I think that was really cool. There was also like that element of realism where it was just like the guy, the rich daughter's father, was just like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And then he's just like, "I'm about to finish college." And he's like, "See, everyone's a college graduate these days. You want to be like him?" And like
Yeah.
that total level of disrespect, like that's kind of real as well, because like the people are treated differently because of how they are, or like I don't know. I felt that was kind of real, and the stereotypical aspect was
Yeah,
there to an
yeah.
extent. Like, don't follow arts, focus on like actual education or something like that. But it's stereotypical because it's real, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think is the reason why this movie can be it is a global story, you know? Like
Hmm.
I feel like anyone from any country and any family will find a piece or a character or a part of a story that they can relate to.
Yep.
So, yeah, I definitely
Like,
think sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just talking to another friend of mine, and like the way that I kind of described the movie to him is like it's a more layered version of 8 Mile. Like 8 Mile was like a surface level rap battle
Mhm.
movie. This had way more of a thing at play, but it's also because it's like 40 minutes longer than 8 Mile.
Right, right. I think the only thing that I would have liked to see more, and again, we mentioned this a little bit last
Yeah.
night, but obviously, I find that the relationship aspect of the movie is the part that everyone can understand and everyone can relate to and can see a little piece of themselves in there.
Hmm.
But for being it such a music centric film, I wanted to see more of his artistic development,
Yep.
because he doesn't start off as a rapper. He starts off more as a poet, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. He starts off as a lyricist more than anything else.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
feel like I would have enjoyed seeing more of his artistic development and his journey in overcoming his fears and becoming better and you know even the
Like,
process of like driving inspiration for his lyrics. um we
like,
do see
yeah.
that, but I feel like I wanted to see a fuller circle, coming. You know what I mean? I wanted to see his character development actually not spike. I want it to be a little bit more linear. Does
So
that make sense?
yeah, no, it does. Like I thought for the amount of characters that were at play and everything like that, sure this movie dragged on at times, but I don't know if I would reduce the length of the movie, but I would replace certain aspects in the
Parts.
movie. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I love the actress that plays Sky. I think she's great in a lot of other movies, but at the same time, her character was kind of useless to an extent, except for being like a uh, conflicting character that gets created and pushes the story along. And like I told you this yesterday, I thought her character was something that could have been replaced, and we could
Mhm.
have used that like entire like the love triangle part that was kind of going on as a way to replace or increase the storyline related to like how he went from being someone who was just like a lyricist and could rap to like actually becoming a good battle rapper.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly. Because we do see him. Basically, we see him battle rap the first time when he gets
yeah,
like totally like,
he
um,
chokes. Yeah.
yeah, he chokes and he just kind of leaves and is all moody and sad. But then the next time we see him battle rap, he actually does it really well. So then you're like, all right, what happened? What happened in between other than his friend just encouraging him,
Exactly. Like I wanted to see more of that, not even
Growth.
character development, but like musical development within him.
Mhm.
And I think that would have been like a really cool character moment. Just seeing him between struggling and choking on like, just trying to battle someone off the cuff to him coming up with ideas as to how he can do that or how he can tune something else out. Even a small scene could have made a big difference. Like just
Yeah.
a small scene where he like learns how to tune out like other people's insults so that he can like come up with his own shit.
Yeah. You know what I also thought was kind of interesting in the battle rapping?
Hmm.
And again, this is probably where I lost most of the actual intended meaning
Sure.
because of the subtitles, but I felt like most of everyone else that was rapping was talking about like, oh, like they were just insulting the other guy, like, oh, like you're so poor or whatever, you know.
Yeah, like your clothes are fake and stuff like that. Like,
Exactly. I
yeah,
felt like it was, or like, oh, you're so short. You look like a kid or something.
yeah, yeah.
But I felt like his raps and his words were more focused on look at look. It was more focused on what I'm like doing right now does not define who I am. I can do better. I feel like his lyrics were always centered on, growth and look at I have all this potential and I don't have to be what they tell me I am. I can be better than that, you know?
So here, it's gonna be kind of shitty to say this, but like as someone who understands Hindi a lot, like I would say that he was a
Yeah.
good rapper, but he's like even in his final battle, he was not a good battle rapper. He didn't really like, apart from like a couple of lines like off the cuff here and there. The final battle that he has, not where
Yeah.
he sings the final song, but more of the
Yeah,
part
yeah,
where he's
no.
like
The first
battling the
audition.
other
Yeah.
guy. Yeah, yeah, the audition battle. um he focuses heavily on like, I'm doing this
Himself.
and I'm doing that and everything like
Yeah.
that, and then he throws those like off the cuff remarks that like I bought the shirt with my own money, whereas like you loaned it off your dad's or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
like it
yeah, this
was,
is exactly what I was saying. It's
yeah,
like everyone was more like insult heavy, whereas
yeah.
him was more about himself and being a better version of himself, Which I
uh,
thought was interesting. I was like, is this what battle rapping is? I don't know.
so what it kind of reminded me of, like I hate to bring up this thing because like it's a very easy go-to every time you're talking about battle rapping in movies, but in 8 Mile there's a, like I think the second or the third rap battle that takes place right in the final battles that happen.
Mhm.
Instead of talking about how the other guys are shitty, he talks about how everything in his life is kind of shit and he's still able to do this. And then he
Mhm.
tosses the mic over to the, oh, actually it was the last rap battle. It was the last rap battle. He talks about how everything in his life is shitty and he's still better than all of them because of that. Like he's still able to do this shit and he's able to do it better than all of them, even when he doesn't have anything going right in his life. And then he tosses the mic over to the other guy and like, blah blah blah, now tell them something they don't know about me. And like that's his end thing, right? Because he just reveals, it's like a tell-all, and that's what I kind of thought this was as well, where it's just like, yeah, I don't have this, yeah, I don't have that, and I don't have this, but I've done this and this and this and this. Now it's your turn, let's see how you can come back against.
Mhm.
That's what it kind of like felt like for me. And he's, when it comes to like actual like I don't know, like battle rapping, he would not have been good, but it's also like I'd say the best way to say it is like there's a difference in culture between like American rap culture and Indian rap culture, right? Uh, and like to that extent, like what is a good battle rap might be different, where it could be more of like an insult based thing might be easier over there, whereas like something of what Murad's character did might have been better. But again, like I don't know jack shit about Indian like rap culture. I just know that it's kind of more of an underground thing, and then there's like occasional singers that make it out. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like the extent of what I know. But no, it completely makes sense. Like I do get what you're saying, where like the raps that he had, at least in translation, or like when you were reading the translations,
Yeah.
were or like were kind of different from what like the other rappers were kind of doing in those particular battle raps.
Yeah.
No, I feel that. I think I don't know. There's like nothing really I can like say apart from the fact that like I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's where it comes like, I feel like that's 90% of the reason why his character is like also like very endearing is that he's not an asshole.
Yeah,
He's like a nice guy. Whereas like his competition, I don't feel like there were any like major
there was no villain in
competitors.
the movie. There was no
Eh,
like
I think the villain, I think the it wasn't really about being good or bad. I think it
Yeah.
was more about being, you know, this is the situation you're in, and what are you gonna do to live with it? What are you gonna do to
Hmm.
make it better? You know.
Hmm. Yeah. No, I
Um,
completely understand that. That makes sense.
I feel like it's more of that. Um, One thing again, this fact that there was no main villain,
Hmm.
like, not gonna lie, when we first see his friend
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Cher, um, when he's rapping at school,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is the villain at first, you know? I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is gonna be like uh, the
It's gonna be
mean
a battle
guy.
between the two of them or something like that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I was expecting at first, and then he actually turns out to be like
His biggest supporter to an
his
extent.
biggest supporter. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think the only thing I would have liked to know more is, exactly what you were saying before. I feel like certain parts of the movie could have been swapped out for others, and I wish I could have known a little bit more about him,
Hmm.
and about, like, okay, where does he get his inspiration for his rap? And when we see his house, and he tells us that his mom ran away,
His
you
dad's a drunk and he has like a sneaker collection and stuff like that.
exactly, you
Yeah.
get a little bit, you get a glimpse of it.
Yeah.
um I kind of wish we knew more, but then on the other hand, so part of me is like, oh, I wish we knew more about this character, because seems like a great guy. He seems like a major pillar in the story, but then on the other hand, he isn't. He's just, I feel like it makes sense for him to not have like such a deep background story, because then it becomes too much about them and less about Murad,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
I would have said that if we would have gone more of like for me, my main focus of like if I wanted another storyline to come in and remove something else, it would have been like Murad's character development and musical development, and like the intersection of that more than Sky's character in itself.
Yeah.
If we would have added more development
But
for
even for her,
Cher,
yeah.
yeah,
Sorry.
like I
Sorry.
think it would have had to become a longer movie because then you would
Yeah.
have had way too many characters. Like you had, none of the characters like that were central were, I would say, like they didn't come off as like two dimensional of or anything like that. Like you had
Mhm.
a lot of throwaway characters, but Murad's mom gets fleshed out, his dad gets fleshed out more. Uh, like um, Safina's parents are also to an extent given their own scenes.
Mhm.
So if you like then started like if you added more to what's his name's character, Cher's character, then you start either requiring like less character development for the other supporting characters,
Mhm.
or you need the movie to get longer. And that's where like it would I think it might have
Yeah.
been like maybe there were other scenes and they just ended up on the chopping room floor because they were like, yo, this movie's like 2 hours 40 minutes. Like we can't do anymore.
Yeah, it's too long. I mean, honestly, I felt like it was a good length, you know?
Yeah.
Generally, I feel like over the past like 7 or 8 years, movies have gotten a lot longer
Hmm.
than what they used to be. Or maybe as a kid, I just fell asleep earlier. But yeah, I feel like it was a good length. Like, I started wanting it to end when it ended, you know?
No, that
Um,
that that makes complete sense to me.
for me,
I yeah, go ahead.
sorry. I feel like the ending was was a little abrupt for me.
Yeah.
I wish, I think it ties back into that whole artistic development that we wanted to see, but also like even the Sky storyline. Then, after the incident with Safina and the bottle,
Hmm.
she just kind of disappears.
Yep.
Which I guess in real life it makes sense that she'd be like, yeah, I don't want to fuck around with that. but then she just kind of appears at the end, and they're all friends, and
And she's
eh,
just kind of there, like, oh
she's just
yeah,
kind of
it's all
there. Yeah.
good. Like, don't worry about it, or
Like,
something like
yeah, I'm
that.
partying. I'm here because I go to Berkeley, but
Yeah, that was like such a like the moment where she's like, oh yeah, I like study like musical production at Berkeley or something like that. Yo, worlds colliding, like a Hindi
yeah.
movie and like Boston.
Yeah, for me it was like, because I live right next to Berkeley. Like,
Yeah,
literally, Berkeley is on my street. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what her dorm was. Like, she definitely has walked past my house.
well, I mean the character, not like
Yeah, no, of course. But, like, absorbing that reality and being like,
yeah.
oh, like, she knows where I live, or like the neighborhood,
No, that was like kind of a I don't know. It was just like a more special moment for like I
Yeah,
think the both of us where it was just like, oh yeah, throwaway kind of thing, like something that like wasn't meant to be that important because they're just like, yeah, I'm just studying at like college in Boston, but
yeah,
it was more of like a connective tissue to Sky's character, which is why like it it's kind of sucky when I say this, but I'm like, yeah, but her character could just not have existed and it would have been fine.
yeah, that's true. It could have
So
been some dude.
yeah,
It could have been his friend having another friend or whatever, or
like
someone discovering him from the internet, kind of,
exactly, yep.
No,
Like
I
it
feel
was
that.
I completely agree with you. Like I brought it up yesterday as well, where the ending was the only real part of the movie where I hated it. Where I'm just like, I am really pissed that they just like had this like really rough cut ending. Like it's almost
Mhm.
like that they were like 3 days from the release of the movie and like fuck, what do we do? And then they just released like this ending. Like that's how much I did not like how abrupt it was. Because like I love a good conclusion to an ending. Like I love Return of the King because it's the end of the Lord of the Rings saga. So it's
You
like
lost me there.
basically like I think it's really hard to wrap up movies. That's why I love it when it's done well, and I hate it more when it's done without like an actual conclusion. And that's what
Yeah.
I kind of felt what happened in the movie, where it's just like, sure, we kind of got an idea as to like what happens in a montage for the rest of his
Mhm.
like up until like the Nas concert and stuff like that. But it still pissed me off that it was just like you know, he gives this like badass performance, sticks his hand up in the air, and like that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm
No,
like,
I feel that. What was
um,
the
what were you saying? Sorry.
So the thing that I thought was missing
Yeah.
from the end,
Hmm.
I feel like overall the movie has kind of a low budget feel. I feel like, how much would it cost?
I actually okay. So I know that the movie
Can we
made
look it
back.
up?
Yeah. No, I have the information right now.
Oh,
I just have to like convert it, right?
I feel like at that final scene, I loved what they did with the stage,
Yeah.
recreating, his area and his neighborhood. I loved that visual, but I wish there was a shot of like the giant stadium and like the whole public. I feel like I wanted to see a more grandiose shot of the immensity that he
So
had become.
the entire movie was made for $5.4 million.
Hmm.
It's like
It's not super low budget.
it's not super low budget, but like if you compare it to most like Hollywood movies, it is low budget.
Yeah.
But when you compare it to
But a Bollywood movie.
yeah, but see, like that's also the kind of thing where it's like it's still kind of low budget for a Bollywood movie. I'm surprised
Yeah.
by how low it is.
I feel like I mean, they had a lot of people, like loads and loads of,
Yeah,
extras, but I don't know. Again, it's the Bollywood industry is something that I am not familiar with,
yeah.
and so I don't really have an idea of what the industry costs like
I
right
mean,
there.
so Bollywood in terms of revenue and films produced is bigger than Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I
It's
guess that makes sense. Yeah.
it's actually like the biggest film industry in the world. It's just sad that like the quality of the films at times, at least for me, is
Mm.
considerably lacking. But it's also made with an entire different idea in mind. Like most Bollywood movies are meant to be escapism,
Mhm.
and it's movies like these, like Gully Boy, and like a few other movies made by this like the team that made this film
Mhm.
made other like coming of age movies that I really loved. Like so, those are the kind of movies where uh, they're less of escapism, more of like look at the lives of like random people or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
honestly, I thought it was a very it was very Americanized in a way,
mhm.
you know? It had like that it had the storyline, it had the characters, it had the music and the visuals. Like I would see this if they spoke in like American English,
Mhm.
I would have just assumed it was like a Hollywood movie,
Yeah,
you know? The only thing that gave it away to me was that
the language is
the
different.
language.
Yeah.
Um, for anything else, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I might even consider watching it again. You know, maybe not like tomorrow,
No,
but I
this is
would.
the kind of movie where like I will go back and watch it, you know, when it like comes out on streaming services or something like that. Like
Yeah,
I'm more likely to rewatch this or like be like, hey, you want to check out like a Bollywood movie that I like or something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's I think
Oh,
I would rewatch it because I feel like I missed little pieces of it because I was reading so much.
so this
The
is
other,
gonna be like a tangent, right? But
all right,
this is like a really weird tie-in. The actress who played Sky, right? And you were just like,
yeah,
oh, I've definitely
she
seen
looks
her
super
before.
familiar. Yeah,
Yeah, and like that's because like she's done movies outside of Bollywood and stuff like that. Her ex-husband, right?
you know him too.
No, 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 I don't. But I'm reading a quote about a guy like her ex-husband was a guy who's like he's a filmmaker in India. He's a director and a producer.
Uh-huh.
And the only reason I'm bringing this up is like it weirdly ties into certain conversations we've had. But like there's a quote about how he was like a student of zoology, right? And he
Oh,
had no desire to be a filmmaker until he watched Bicycle Thieves by Vittorio De Sica.
ah, Vittorio De Sica. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that like
Ladri
I
di
bring
biciclette.
like
Yeah,
yeah, and like that's why like it just like fucking like popped into my head like oh we've had a conversation about this movie
yeah.
uh and then I'm like this is like a weird uh you know like just a weird like thing that just like weird
Yeah.
connection that just popped
Well, I
into my head.
mean, Ladri di biciclette is like an ultimate classic, you know? So, like anyone
True.
who knows a
Yeah.
little bit, anyone who's studied even a little bit of film in their life, like that's the first movie you watch.
I mean, it's I'd say the universal like representation for Italian neorealism.
Yeah,
Like
that with along
at
others.
least outside of Italy, it's the go-to.
Okay, okay, okay,
Like
fine.
if
Let's
that makes
not
sense.
get into this. I'll have to tell
Well,
you about my high school thesis.
no, okay, but you went to high school in Italy. I'm saying like as someone who like studied film over here, and like the
Okay,
fact that this guy
okay.
brought it up as well. It's like whenever they bring up Italian neorealism,
Yeah,
it's just like let's bring up Bicycle Thieves. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
So for Gully Boy, I feel
yeah,
like the last thing I feel like I want to mention
go ahead.
is that not being a rap fan myself,
Hmm.
um, I really liked the beats and I thought the songs were very catchy. I just
Hmm.
feel like I'll never be able to sing along, so
Hmm.
that's the only reason why I'm a little disappointed.
No,
And that is it. That's where I leave Gully Boy.
like as someone who's like I have that similar issue where like I speak Hindi, but at the same time, there's so much to an extent like there's a so like it's so like slang induced like the Hindi that they speak in the movie and the Hindi that I know how to speak is way too formal because I learned it in school. Like
Mm.
it wasn't conversational for me a lot. Like it's just something that I learned in school, and then the occasional like conversations I would have, but I would have like formal Hindi conversations. So even for me, to an extent, like some songs, I'm just like I don't fucking know how to sing this. Like I
Yeah.
understand the chorus, but that's about it. Um,
But yeah,
okay,
that was Gully Boy for you.
yeah. Actually, I've maybe like a couple of things that I'd love to still add, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, like my kind of thoughts on the movie. I really liked it. There's certain things that I feel like they could have improved upon, but I was genuinely surprised by the fact that like this was a lot better than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
It is a movie about something that's not really traditionally made in India, which is why I'm really glad that they didn't fall into this like it could have turned out so bad
Mm.
to be like let's make a movie about something that's not really that big in India except for a large underground scene and then like more of like the influences that have been brought on by like you know rappers from outside that kind of like you could kind of see like they weren't bringing up like oh Travis Scott is going to perform and like we
Yeah.
want to open for him. It's like Nas is going to perform. It's like you can kind of see that there's like a gap in terms of the timelines between the rappers that they say are influencing these people and stuff like that, which is
Mhm.
kind of true. Like probably the biggest rap influence to rappers in India is most. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like someone like Eminem or something like that because it's a little behind. It's like 10, 15 years behind.
Yeah.
Uh, so like I don't know, from like a realism point of view, I thought this movie did a really good job because of that. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought the directing was also kind of cool. I like that they didn't rely heavily on like close-up face shots, which is kind of like a known thing in India for a lot of Bollywood movies. Like they kind of relied on like let's show you what Dharavi kind of looks like and all of these different things. I love the location that they picked. Um, and yeah, I actually like I had a great time watching this movie, and I'm glad that you had a pretty good time as well because like kind of lets me know that like I can introduce other people to this movie as well, even if they don't speak the language, and would still be able to kind of like watch it and not be
Yeah.
completely like thrown off by it.
Yeah. I mean, I would recommend it. I think it's a movie worth sitting down for 2 hours and 40 minutes
Yeah.
because wherever you're at, I feel like you can take something out of it. And then like obviously like the overarching story and moral, it's a
Hmm.
good message. So sit down, enjoy it, see something, like watch something that is different from, what you would see in America or in Italy or Europe.
Hmm.
And I feel like there's a takeaway for anyone, and it's a well done movie. I can't complain. I didn't think it was boring for 1 second, so it was good. I
Uh,
enjoyed it.
uh, I'm like really happy that you did because like this is. I'm not gonna lie. Walking into the movie, I'm just if this turns out like on the bad side of what I expected or what I think it could have been, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, oh man, this is gonna like really damage the idea of like me being able to bring up like other Bollywood movies possibly that I really like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
And I'm
but
glad that like this actually worked out. I wasn't expecting you to like it. Like that's the main thing. I really
really,
wasn't
you
expecting.
thought like, this bitch,
Yeah,
she
like
ain't gonna like it.
I'm just walking in. I'm like I am surprised that you want to watch this movie. This like the fact that you brought it up and like I had no idea what this movie was, but at the same time, like I'm surprised that like this is a movie that she wants to
Yeah, but
watch.
Kush, it's me. It's me. Come on.
No, like okay,
I'm
I get it. Like
special.
like you no, no also like your film tastes aren't the traditional like general like public film taste. You have more of a refined film taste, which
Oh
is
my
why
god,
it's just
stop it. I'm blushing.
but like I was not expecting you to like this movie going in. Like that's my main thing.
Hmm.
It's really hard and like it's really hard to like bring up a movie that comes from like a different world where everyone looks different to people that are used to watching movies where everyone looks like them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, no, I see that. I see that.
And so I'm glad that you really like this movie. I will suggest like other movies that I think are similar to like movies like these
Mhm.
that you should possibly check out, and then maybe we'll talk about them in a later episode.
We'll compare. We'll
Uh,
compare notes.
do you have any last minute thoughts or anything like that, or what was your favorite song if you had one? Like even if you probably don't know the title, like I'll be able to figure it
I
out.
wish. Here's the thing. Like, I wish were able to be like, oh, the one that was like, la 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 la. But they all sounded la 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 to me. I mean,
Okay.
I guess no. I think my favorite song was. I really liked the second song they record on video, the one that Sky helps them do. I thought that was like literally just like a music video
Oh, where
in the
they
movie.
film it in the streets, like where he kind of grew up
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought that was very cool, and I was just kind of thinking like, who is this Berkeley chick, and how does she have all this fancy video equipment? And
That's what.
that's what I was thinking about because as a filmmaker, I'm always thinking about like equipment, and I'm like, oh, and I was like, I saw the gimbal they were using, and I was like, I know that costs like 4K.
Yeah, no, that's the thing where she was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm a fucking like music student and I have a budget to shoot a music video." So I'm like,
Yeah.
first of all, like that's kind of pushing it in itself. And then you kind of see the music video and like, yo, this had like drone shots. What the
Yeah, I'm like, dude,
fuck?
what are you using? B&H?
Like,
Do you have like a subscription?
but then also you obviously find out that she comes from a pretty rich family, so that's how she
Yeah.
probably as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I think the song that you really liked a lot, its direct translation for um the title
yeah.
is "In
Mhm.
My Street." That's what
In
it.
my street. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense because
like
I read it in the subtitles. Like,
exactly.
in
Yeah,
my street, I do this and that. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
like the song's title is "Mary Galima." Like for me, it's probably still gonna have to be like the song that he actually writes and that performs at the end.
The first one and the last one.
Yeah, the very first one and the last one. Like I thought that was pretty fucking awesome. Like it's got a great beat. I can like I told you while we were in Yard House, like my head was just like going with the song still.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, it sucks that I can't really recite like all of the lyrics to it, but like, oh man, it's just stuck in my head.
Yeah.
All right. So
It was good.
do we want to give it a ranking of any kind or something like that or nah?
Um, nah, I'm gonna give it a 10. Oh,
Wow.
I'm gonna give it a 10 because I'm feeling good. I
Wow.
feel like I'm gonna give it a 10 because it was different and I was pleasantly surprised, and I enjoy things that help me see and think outside my little world, my own little world, and I feel like this was good. Like, I enjoyed it. I was thoroughly entertained. I felt
Mhm.
like I was learning something, and I was excited to keep watching. So, yeah, I don't like giving those like, oh, I'm gonna give it like a 9.5 or like an 8.5. I'm like, just give it a 10. It was a good movie. It was a solid movie. People should watch it. That's where I'm gonna end it.
Wow. Okay. That I'm very surprised. It also it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Did not know that.
Really?
Uh,
See, the
yeah.
world agrees with me.
I would give it like a solid like 8.75 or
Oh
9.
my god, shut up, Gush. Just give it a 9.
Okay, fine. I would give it a 9. I wouldn't give it a 10. I don't think like 10 is for me is a perfect movie. I love the actor that's in this movie.
Mhm.
He's made some like the actor who plays Murad, right?
Mhm.
Made one of my favorite like I guess visually the most stunning like one of those like visually stunning films like 4 years ago. And for me because of that I'm just like I want to see some of the other movies that he does.
Mhm.
Uh and yeah, like that's what I'm gonna call it. I'll give it like a solid 9. I would definitely suggest anyone that's interested in it to go watch it like without a hesitation. And I'm glad that I actually went to go watch this movie. So like, thank you for bringing it up.
Yay, you're welcome, Gush.
And yeah, let's call it there. I've just recorded 2 back-to-back episodes, so this should be coming out either this weekend or the start of next week.
Yay!
All right. See you guys.
Good night,
Take it easy.
everybody.
Good night.